So, Amy, I've got to ask you, is Chris Hughton the new Paul Lambert?
Well, Chris Hughton obviously isn't exactly the same as Paul Lambert, but what he'll be looking to do and what he'll be charged to do is to try and recreate some of that chemistry that Lambert achieved with his players. And I think that was the notable thing about Norwich last season. I mean, they did so extraordinarily well, but that group of players, of whom so little was expected, they played with this incredible determination that really so obviously rooted down from the top. Lambert was able to take a group of players from lower leagues who were not particularly noted as regards being Premier League establishment and make them all believe that they deserved to be there. And there was a magic that I think anybody who went to a game at Carrow Road noted, that there were vibrations there where collectively as a club and as a group of players and a manager, they were all singing from the same hymn sheet and all determined to show that they deserved to be where they were. And I think for a new manager coming in, when you've got such an influential manager who's been a part of those individual players all playing above themselves, it's going to be an interesting extra challenge for him.
I think it's always true that when you get teams coming up, often true, maybe not always, but you get teams that get a momentum going and they sort of fly out the blocks and they'll keep winning games just because winning's what they've been doing in the lower division, that's what they're doing now. And what really impressed me about Norwich last season was even at the end of the season, you still felt like they were battling, they were still getting impressive results in difficult games. Certainly against Arsenal, going from 2-1 up to 3-2 down, you think, well, there's no reason for a team in this position to keep battling. There's nothing there they need to keep fighting for, and they still did. They got back and got a point. And I wonder if that's the question I want to ask: is can Hughton maintain that spirit that was created under Lambert?
I'm sure he'll want to, but it's a question of also how he's going to, bring his own ideas to the table, because obviously he's not going to have the same approach to management as any other individual, and they would seem from the outside looking in to be slightly different kind of personalities, and their teams seem to play with a slightly different kind of energy. But any good manager worth their salt is coming into a new job, obviously takes a look at what's wrong and tries to make that better, but also maybe takes a look at what's right and tries like hell to keep hold of those things. And there is that kind of there's a team spirit that was crafted last season at Norwich that's absolutely essential, that I think needs to be sustained, although it will be hard, because for a lot of these players there was a special kind of motivation when they came up last season, purely because people weren't expecting them to do particularly well. So I'm sure that they had that sense where they were desperate to prove to people that they belong in that elite company. And having done so, can they maintain that? Can they keep that going into a second season? It's going to be quite tricky.
It's a clear question you want to ask about this team. Is they've got a lot of players who've come up from lower leagues, and they've got three in particular: Grant Holt, Russell Martin and Wes Hoolahan, who've come all the way up from League One with them. And then even now the players they're adding this summer, you look at Robert Snodgrass, very highly thought of player, but again coming up from a lower division. Do you think there is enough just simple quality in that squad, or is that something that maybe once that momentum is gone a little bit, might be something they struggle with?
Obviously players' views of themselves change when they step up and prove themselves, and Grant Holt is a particularly important case in point. Here's a guy who, after one phenomenal season, saw fit to put in a transfer request because he clearly felt that he was capable of being in better company, both as a player and perhaps financially, on whatever package he's on as well, and also was clearly trying to get himself a slot in the England team, which arguably he was very much from performances alone deserving of consideration for the Euros. Now it turned out that obviously he didn't get quite either of those things, so quite how he feels mentally going into a new season, back where he was, is going to be worth watching. Although I can't imagine that the Norwich fans themselves will be anything other than ecstatic, and I don't think they'll feel particularly there was a disloyalty there. We'll have to wait and see, but he was very much their figurehead and their poster boy last season, and I'm sure they'll just be thrilled to bits he's still there, and for the club itself to have kept hold of him this summer is really significant.